German spiritual leader Eckhart Tolle once said that acknowledging everything you have is the foundation of all abundance. So engaging in a gratitude practice is one of the most powerful psychological tactics that you could use to give yourself a sense of peace and fulfillment. And people all over the world who practice gratitude generally do so by writing down 3 to 5 things that they're grateful for on a daily basis. But it seems that this actually might not be the most effective approach that we can take. Now, I'm not saying that this is ineffective. All I'm saying is that according to the research, there seems to be a much better approach out there. So if we're going to be practicing gratitude, might as well do it in the most effective way possible, right? So that's why in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 life-changing benefits of gratitude and how you and I can practice it in the most effective way possible. The first benefit is the mitigation of chronic stress and anxiety. So anxiety is normally caused by the worrying that comes from thinking about the outcome of a future event. This can leave individuals mentally drained and exhausted, which obviously leads to a lot of health issues. So if you've been finding yourself in a similar mental space, then gratitude is something that you can use to help lower those stress and anxiety levels. Now, to really understand how gratitude can do this for us, we need to understand the relationship that exists between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And this article here by Harvard Health Publishing does a great job of explaining that in layman's terms. As it states in the article, the sympathetic nervous system functions like a gas pedal in a car. It triggers the fight or flight response, providing the body with the burst of energy so that it can respond to perceived danger. The parasympathetic nervous system acts like a brake. It promotes the rest and digest response that calms the body down after the danger has passed. So as you can see here, consistently activating the parasympathetic nervous system and staying away from activating the sympathetic nervous system is something that we have to do if we want to remain in a state of relaxation. And I have another article by UCLA Health that explains why and how gratitude is able to do that for us. As it states in the article, taking a moment to be thankful causes physiological changes in your body that initiate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that helps you rest and digest. Gratitude and the response it causes helps bring down your blood pressure, heart rate, and breathing to help with overall relaxation. And to prove this even further, there was a study done with 83 Chinese adults to check whether or not gratitude can reduce death anxiety. So what happened was these adults were divided into 3 different groups, and they were told to write down life events that were associated with each of the groups they were assigned to. And the 3 groups were a neutral group, a hassle group, and a gratitude group. And as it states in the study, here's what they found. Participants in the gratitude induction reported lower death anxiety than the hassle and the neutral condition, whereas no difference was observed for the later 2 conditions. Also, by re-examining life events with a thankful attitude, people may become less fearful of death due to a sense that life has been well lived. So as you can see here, if you've been struggling with anxiety and stress, engaging in a consistent gratitude practice is something that can definitely help you out. The second benefit is increased resilience to trauma and negative experiences. So according to the National Library of Medicine, there was a study done with 42 women who were suffering from breast cancer. And for 2 weeks, these women had to write things that they were grateful for on a daily basis. And according to the study, here's what happened. It seems that listing the reasons for gratitude led to higher levels of daily psychological functioning, greater perceived support, and greater use of adaptive coping strategies. These results suggest that gratitude interventions may improve the lives of oncological patients. So obviously this study is focused on cancer patients, but in general, it does show us the power that gratitude has when it comes to keeping people in a healthy psychological space when they're going through a negative experience, right? Also, there was another study done with Vietnam War veterans where they were checking the relationship that exists between gratitude and PTSD. And according to that study, here's what they found. Veterans with PTSD compared to those without PTSD exhibited significantly lower dispositional gratitude. No difference were found on daily gratitude. Dispositional gratitude predicted greater daily positive effect percentage of pleasant days over the assessment period, daily intrinsically motivating activity, and daily self-esteem over and above effects attributable to PTSD severity and dispositional negative and positive effect in the PTSD group, but not the non-PTSD group. Now, I know many of you are wondering, what's the difference between daily gratitude and dispositional gratitude? To be honest, that's a great question, because on the internet, there wasn't a clear-cut explanation of the difference between the two. But I did find something which I'll toss up on the screen right now, and we'll go through it. So it seems like dispositional gratitude really is just your perspective in life and your ability to notice and see the good as you operate throughout your day. Daily gratitude seems to be more of a fleeting emotion, where maybe you do little practice in gratitude where you feel grateful for something, or where somebody helps you out and you just temporarily feel that emotion of gratitude, rather than having that as a mindset and a perspective that you operate with throughout the day. So that seems to be the difference between the two, right? So obviously, based on these studies, it does show us that doing whatever we can to develop a grateful mind and just a grateful perspective in life is something that we can do to armor ourselves against negative experiences and negative phases that we're bound to go through as time goes on. And finally, the third benefit is increased motivation. So according to BMC Psychology, there was a study done with 84 university students to check the relationship that exists between gratitude and academic motivation. So these students were divided into two groups. One was a gratitude group and the other one was a control group. And for 6 days a week, for 2 weeks, the gratitude group was told to log in to an online system and write 5 things they were grateful for that day. They were also told to complete a self-evaluation where they were just asked to evaluate various aspects of their daily life. The control group only did the self-evaluation and did not take part in the gratitude activity. And here is what they found. The participants who regularly engaged with the gratitude journal task displayed significant enhancements in academic motivation, and also improvements in academic motivation were not observed among participants in the control group. And also, if you look back at the previous study where we were talking about the Vietnam War veterans, in that study, it also mentions that gratitude helped the veterans develop intrinsic motivation, right? So obviously, as you can see, engaging in a gratitude practice is something that you can do to increase your motivation. And I believe this happens because when you engage in gratitude, you start to feel this level of appreciation and love for life, which normally leads to an increase in internal energy and enthusiasm. All right, so now that we've covered 3 great benefits of gratitude, it's time to talk about how we can practice it effectively. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that most people who practice gratitude generally do so by using a gratitude list. But according to some research here, it seems that there is a more effective approach out there. So the golden question is, what is the approach? Let's find out. So 958 Australian adults were used in a study to determine which gratitude methods were the most effective. Now, these adults were divided into 6 different groups and were assigned to one of 6 activities, which I'll list out right now. The first activity was the social gratitude list. This is where they would write the names of people that they were grateful for. Activity number 2 was the social gratitude letter. This is where they would write a letter to people that have genuinely helped them. Activity number 3 was the non-social gratitude list. This is where they would write names of things that they were grateful for. Activity number 4 was the non-social gratitude letter. This is where they would write essays about the things that they were grateful for. Activity number 5 was the unconstrained condition. This is where they would write the names of people and things that they were grateful for. And activity number 6 was the active control condition. This is where they would just track and write down their daily activities. What they found at the end was that writing social gratitude letters was a more psychologically rich experience, and that when gratitude is expressed in narrative form. It enhances subjective well-being and also enhances other positive psychological outcomes. Now, if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense because the more descriptive we are when it comes to thinking about the people that we're grateful for and what they've done, the more we engage our brain. And the more we engage our brain, the more emotional and the more impactful the experience becomes. And I have an article here by the National Library of Medicine that somewhat proves that. So over here it mentions that brain regions involved in reading action words are some of the same regions involved in performing analogous actions in the real world. For example, reading verbs such as run or kick activates brain regions that are selectively activated when moving one's foot. So this explains why, movies, books, and well-told stories are so good at emotionally captivating human beings. Also, in his podcast episode on gratitude, neuroscientist Andrew Huberman mentions that receiving gratitude is more powerful than giving gratitude, right? And he says that we can practice this by, number one, remembering the full experience of a time when someone genuinely gave us gratitude. Or number two, we have to observe a powerful interaction or story of someone else receiving or giving gratitude. And we have to immerse ourselves in the emotional experience of that person and that situation. Now, Huberman also mentions that it's very important that we choose a story that is powerful and impactful to us. So obviously this will vary by the individual. So whatever story you find very impactful, obviously it has to be kind of a humanitarian story where there's a lot of gratitude being expressed, but just find whatever story moves you and choose that one, okay? Now, after we've selected the story that moves us, we have to fully recall and fully digest this story one time, okay? Then after we fully understand it and fully immerse ourselves in the story, we now have to break the story down into bullet points. And these bullet points have to hold the most emotional parts of that story. And according to Huberman, he mentions that we should write down, number one, what you or the individual in your story was going through prior to receiving the help. Number two, write down what the help was. And number three, write down the emotional impact this had on you, okay? So after you have all your bullet points, we now have to spend 1 to 5 minutes a day 3 times a week immersing ourselves in the emotional experience of the story. And we do this by going over the bullet points that we've chosen. Now, let's be honest, 1 to 5 minutes a day is literally nothing. So I don't think it's overly ambitious to try and do this every single day, right? And if you're interested in the details of this process, I'm gonna link Andrew Huberman's episode on gratitude in the description below. He goes on for more than 1 hour fully explaining the process and just how this works. So if you're interested, it'll be right there for you, okay? So at the end of the day, it seems like the most effective ways to practice gratitude revolve around story and long-form writing that focus on, number one, remembering a time when someone genuinely gave us gratitude. Number two, remembering a time when someone genuinely helped us. And number three, just immersing ourselves in the emotional experience of the recipient or giver of gratitude in a very powerful and impactful humanitarian story that means something to us, okay? And obviously, if you like your gratitude list, please keep doing it. It's helped people all over the world, but I do think it's a good idea to just add these extra methods that we've learned today on top of the gratitude list that you use, because if you can make your gratitude practice more powerful and more impactful than it already is, why not, right? So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you got anything out of it, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, love you all. Take care.